Dang, man. So I just watched a clip on Instagram. I was about to go to sleep. I'm gonna go to sleep again. I'm gonna go to sleep. But something I thought about, right? And it was this clip of this guy asking Andrew Tate, if you knew who the ruler of everything was, right? And I'll even if I can, maybe you'll know based on like what I do here. If I link it, if I show it or whatever, if I show the clip or whatever, you'll know the exact phrase. You'll know based on this video and what happens next. Anyway. So, in the clip, and I'm going to, give me a second here, actually. Okay, so, what was asked in the clip was, if you knew who was in power, would you really say it? Right? And, of course, there's going to be, like, a lot of, people talking about, oh, it's this guy, it's this person in this country who has this much control over the government, and it's this person who has this much control over this area of the government, this sector, this, that, these secret files that no one knows about that I looked up on the internet, and this, that, and that, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm going to talk to you about a different conspiracy, one that's guaranteed to be right. And I can promise you this. Actually, yeah, I'll guarantee you this. When we all die, and this is a promise, this is me, I know someone's going to watch this and think I'm crazy, but I'm being genuinely serious. When we all die and Judgment Day happens, you will know who the real ruler is. Right? And I'm laughing about it because, not really because I'm like hoping that day comes fast for those who haven't repented, but just thinking about that, right? Thinking about the realization from everyone's point of view, everyone's perspective, right? So let's talk about it. The real ruler we know is God, but there's a ruler on this earth who determines a lot of things that happen, right? And it's really crazy when you think about it. People always have these conspiracy theories of this, that, and the third, but they never really consider the oldest known, trickster, the oldest known ruler, the oldest known person who is against us. So let me talk about this. It's just Satan. That's who it is. Right, I saw a quote, and I was scrolling in the comments, right? I was scrolling in the comments of this video where this person was talking to Andrew Tate, and one of the things that I thought was smart, I saw two smart comments. It starts with Jay, who was referring to Jesus, and the second comment was, the best trick the devil ever pulled was making humanity think he didn't exist. And that's perfect. Whoever made that quote was really on to something. I cannot like imagine that person didn't have the Holy Spirit in them when they said that. Because that's truly what it is. You want to know why people have the opinions they do, as crazy as they get? You want to know why there are so many people who are pushing certain things that just are anti-God? It's because of Satan, right? And it makes sense. He's been around on this earth for thousands of years, literally thousands, not millions like everyone wants to believe. It doesn't make sense why the earth has been around that long. Generally, if you want to sit here and debate about why it's been around that long, you can go ahead. You're wasting your breath. Like I said, this gamble, this bet I'm making, once we all die, it's Judgment Day, right? The trumpets have been sounded. We'll see who's right and we'll see who's wrong. And I know I'm right. And I'm not right because I'm right. I'm right because God's right. Not because I'm right, not because I know anything, but all because of what God has revealed, right? And what he's told us will happen, right? And again, if you've made it this far, awesome, cool. You probably already believe this, but if you haven't, I'm telling you now, it's God. God's the way, the truth, and life. And I'm telling you now, Satan is your biggest opposition, right? And let me explain that whole quote to you about how the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was making humanity believe he didn't exist. The reason why it's the greatest trick is because of this. If you don't know you have an opposition, you won't act on that. So what does that mean? I just thought about this now. I literally just thought about this too. Bugs and insects are so small. They are so unbelievably small. Like a normal ant, even a bull ant or a carpenter ant would be about, and this is a DS cartridge, right? This is an old DS cartridge. Yeah, I remember these. These are old now. Let's say an ant is about this big, right? That's giving it a little bit too much size. Let's say an ant. This is a Olive Garden chocolate wrapper. Let's fold it a bit like this. Make it a little thicker. A carpenter ant is about this big. This is my finger. Right? Now, a carpenter ant can kind of see me because I'm very vast in mass compared to the carpenter ant. I'm humongous. I am a colossal titan for those of you who watched AOT. Thinking about it, AOT wasn't that good of a show considering the build-up. Anyway, for those of you who watched AOT, the colossal titan's big. Now, it's not so big that you can't, envision it. Like for bugs and ants, you have to understand, for super small ants and other super small insects, not including like a little bit bigger animal ants and insects like spiders and stuff, for those smaller bugs, we are literally a planet to them. We are a whole surface area. We are a small tri-state. We're a small country to them. They don't even see us as living things. They just see it as this giant thing is moving and I got to avoid it. Right? Now, a fly may have some conception of the fact that you're living because they understand that you are secreting nutrients, stuff that they consider nutrients, like sweat and dead skin, a lot of stuff. That's why flies fly around humans, because everything you secrete from your skin is something that they eat. Anyway, getting back to the main point. An ant is so small that it cannot comprehend the universe around it. It doesn't have, there's a word for this that I'm thinking of, and for those of you who are smart enough, you know what the word is. I've heard the word before, but it's part of the fact that these animals are so small, these insects are so small, they cannot comprehend the universe around them. They just are living the life in front of them. They can't comprehend that. The same way we as humans cannot comprehend everything that's going on around us outside of this planet. We can't comprehend and see everything God is doing. We can't even comprehend and see everything Satan's doing, because a lot of us have been fooled into following these things like LGBTQ, pro-abortion, and a bunch of other stuff, right? And I'm not too surprised because, yet again, Satan's been around for a long time. He has been able to study humans so he can trick them easily, right? A movie I just watched was Iron Man, and in Iron Man, you'll understand that Obadiah, I think Stane or whatever, basically Obadiah Stane, he essentially tricks Tony. He almost gets Tony killed, but Tony, by grace, is, able to escape. Now, Obadiah isn't smarter than Tony. Tony's actually smarter than Obadiah. Tony is able to produce the Iron Man suit out of scraps that he had in a cave. And Obadiah makes this mark. He makes this note. He's like, yeah, this guy was able to do it in a cave with scraps, right? Obadiah had to use Tony's blueprints and engineers to even get close to building the suit that Tony built, right? So Tony's smarter than Obadiah. Now, Obadiah is more deceptive than Tony, and plus Tony had Obadiah had Tony's trust. Now we're gonna break this down. First, we're gonna talk about not being aware of your oppositions, and then also trust and all that, right? So if you're not aware that you have an opposition, you won't act at the same way as if you did. So what does this mean? If I'm aware that there is someone trying to kill me, I will talk to people differently. I will look at people differently. I'll examine them differently, right? I will make sure to watch my surroundings. I'll just act different. I will act paranoid. If I don't, I won't care. If I don't know that they exist, I won't care about it, and I won't think about it, and I'll just continue my daily life. For example, there's a dog running around in my neighborhood, and he's attacked 2 people. I don't know why this dog hasn't been put down. Like, this is a pit bull, and he attacked 2 people, and it's from the same family. Like, he attacked a son, and then he attacked his father. So I don't know why this dog hasn't been put down. It's a pit bull, so those things will let go. Anyway, I have been made aware of that. So now that whenever I walk, I'm aware there's a dog that could possibly come out to attack me and my dog and try to bite me. So what do? One of the things I did one day was I picked up a rock because I heard a dog barking. Need be it, I was going to bash the dog's skull in. Simple. I would have probably lost a limb doing so because it's a pit bull. Things are strong, but I would have succeeded in killing that dog. I don't doubt that. Anyway, the point is I prepared for that. Would I have not known that information, I would have been walking la-di-da. And if I would have heard a dog bark, I would have ignored it because I would have just assumed that dog was behind a fence or on a leash. Or, just not going to come near me and my dog. But now that I have that information, I can process and say, oh, I need to watch out for this, right? We grow up in this world being influenced by everything we see. And when you are influenced by things at such a young age, you really don't pay attention to what that means. LGBTQ people don't question what love is. They just know that love is a feeling. They really don't. And a question I always bring up whenever I ask someone about who's LGBTQ, and this isn't in an aggressive way, this is me trying to help them understand what their conception of love is, which is just a feeling. I ask them this, okay, well, if you love this person, what about them do you actually love? Like, say they were just a blob, would you love them? And what I mean by that is, like, say that person wasn't physically attractive, say they were literally a ball of slime that had a consciousness like a human, that could communicate like a human, and that could basically do everything a human did, but they aren't a human, they're a piece of slime, like the blob from Monsters, not Monsters Inc., not Monsters Incorporated. No, sorry. It would be from whatever that movie was, where it was the girl who was super big, and it had the roach, it had the missing link, and it had Bob, and it had Insectosaur. I don't remember what that movie was, but let's say he was like Bob, right? They would not be attracted to that. And the reason why is because humans work on vision a lot. So part of the reason why God gave us our sexuality is so that we could be attracted to a potential spouse. And I don't need to get into that. You understand what I as a Christian believe about that. If you want me to get into that, I'll 100% do that. I probably will actually in the future. But anyway, God intended us to love, intended us for us to love people, and a lot of what goes on in the LGBTQ community is lust. But I'm getting off sidetracked, and I'm sure that's a distraction from you know who. I'm getting back to the point. When you don't know you have oppositions, you don't pay attention for them. When you don't know the devil's planning stuff for you, you don't pay attention. You don't see the signs that he's doing stuff to try to get you to do stuff, right? You don't see the distractions he's putting in front of you. You don't see all that stuff. You look at other stuff and enjoy other stuff. The devil gives you stuff to enjoy and to get distracted with, so you don't go and pursue God. And that's how it works. That's why people are so obsessed with doing things that don't fulfill in, their purpose of being for God. That's why you have people who are seeking satisfaction from LGBTQ, from following political agendas and all that, and making it their life, and other stuff that just doesn't glorify God, right? And then moving on from that, like I said, geez, bro, it's just so much. It's a rabbit hole. Anyway, when you know about the opposition, for example, Christians know about the opposition of the devil, so they pay attention to these things. They don't just go with the crowd whenever anyone says things. I was watching a video about this one guy versus 25 liberals, and he was smoking and cooking them. Generally, he was smoking and cooking them. And it's crazy because he was smoking and cooking them with just general logic, which they've lost because they've been too busy in distractions and just listening to words. And it's like, it's crazy how, it's just crazy. I couldn't describe it. Anyway, moving on to the second part, trust. You give people trust, right? You give everyone in this world a certain degree of trust. Some is higher than the others, some is lower than the others, right? Every time you go in public, you're giving someone trust because you're trusting that they aren't going to hurt you or they aren't going to do something to you, right? Now, for some, you might have less trust than others based on how they look. You might trust them less because they look more suspicious, and you might trust them more because they look super nice and friendly, right? Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer syndrome. You trust them because they look friendly, but they're not friendly. They're actually very deceiving, right? Anyway, so getting back to it. The devil has been around here for thousands of years. I'm pretty sure by measurements and transcripts or something like that, it's supposed to be 6,000 years. I don't really care if it's 6,000, 5,000, or 4,000. I just know it hasn't been millions of years or hundreds of thousands of years, right? It's only been a couple thousand, right? Anyway, he's been around for thousands of years, and in those thousands of years, he's been able to study how humans work, how we act, how we respond to things. So he doesn't know the future. He doesn't. But he can very dang well predict what's going to happen if he shows you something of a certain nature. He can very well predict that if he shows you stuff about LGBTQ stuff when you're 5, you're going to stick with that LGBTQ stuff until you're 30 and 40 and 50, even if it doesn't make sense. Even if it doesn't make sense. If you show somebody something when they're young and it doesn't make sense or add up, they don't care about that. They're going to absorb that. When you're young, you're like a sponge. You take in everything. And when you're old, you're like a dry rock. Nothing can penetrate you. Quote me on that. When you are young, you're like a sponge. When you're old, you're like a rock. You won't take any more information. That's why it's good to learn when you're younger. That's why when you are younger, you're able to learn multiple languages. People who are bilingual, they are super sponges when they were young. They might be a little bit smarter than most people because not everyone learns 2 languages when they're young, even if they are, in a household where 2 languages are spoken. But they're like super sponges, and when they get older, it might be harder for them to learn another language, right? Or to learn something new. But quote me on this. When you're young, you're a sponge. When you're old, you're a rock. Nothing can get to you. And whenever someone presents something new to you, you go against it completely. You see a lot of these debates and arguments between liberals and conservatives, and the liberals always look stupid because they don't know what they're talking about and they're just saying stuff, right? And I say that, and I don't say that to say they are stupid. They just had stuff implanted in their mind. They're not stupid at all. God didn't make us stupid. God gave us a will to learn and to pursue knowledge. They know stuff. They're not stupid. It's just that they have rooted their belief in something that doesn't make sense, and they try to defend it because that's all they know, and all they know is a lie, right? Back to the trust thing. You give certain people trust. You give your parents trust when you're a kid to teach you whatever. You don't question your parents that often whenever they tell you something. For example, if your parent tells you that Superman doesn't exist, you don't question it too much. You might fantasize about Superman existing, but you don't question too much. When you're out in public and you're looking at people and you're walking by them, you're giving them trust by walking by them because you're not distancing yourself from everybody by 15 feet so that no one can stab you. Like, for example, someone who isn't trustworthy of people will think things like, I don't want to get near this person because they could have a knife and stab me, they could have a gun, they could punch me, they could do this to me. You don't ever think those thoughts in public, at least not constantly. And even when you do, you still don't often act on them because you know it would make you look weird to be standing and distancing yourself from people. You give people trust, right? When you give people trust, you allow them to do things. Now, that's not always a bad thing, right? It's okay to give people trust. It's kind of like the idea, and actually, this is building up to a point, so I'll get back to that point. I'll talk about this in a different video, but it's building up to a point. You have given people, you do all this trust, you are given a illusion of safety, right? And for those of you who are psychology students, or those of you who have ever had just a good history teacher, anyone who's like a science teacher, you understand what the illusion of safety is. It's the illusion that you are safe in a situation even though you actually aren't safe. Like, I'm not safe walking through, well, I'm somewhat safe. Somewhat. I am at a moderate level of safety, but I'm not 100% safe walking in my neighborhood. Someone could pull over and shoot me. A dog could come attack me. Most likely a dog would attack me. It's probably the most likely thing to happen in my neighborhood. A dog could attack me. An animal could attack me, because we do often have deer and fox roaming through our neighborhood and all that. So most likely if something would happen to me, it would be by an animal. Most likely a dog. So I have the illusion of safety, but I have the illusion of safety whenever I go outside that the dog is going to bite me, right? And you can tell that because when I walk outside, I don't have a knife in my pocket or a rock in my hand ready to bash something in whenever it comes near me. I'm walking with my hand in my pocket. I got my Crocs on, my slides on, my Birkins on, whatever. I have sweatpants, and I might not even have a shirt on, right? I'm chilling. I'm relaxing, right? I'm doing my own thing. But anyway, yeah, getting back to it. Just understand that there is a ruler of this world, but there's a ruler of this universe, and one's greater than the other. For those of you who are Christians and you watch this, cool. I'm really glad you watched this all the way through. This was just kind of something that kind of hit me right before I went to sleep, because I saw a clip. I don't often do this at all, really, like these kinds of videos, because I kind of just forget about it. But this time I didn't forget, and I didn't want to forget because this is big and this is serious. Like I said, this is going to sound crazy to someone who's watching this, but yet again, I think this is serious because I'm able to see the world differently than everyone else. Everyone else has a veil over their eyes, let's be honest, because everyone else follows whoever they see on Twitter, Instagram. People just follow what they see nowadays. They don't ever really question it. As much as people are hard as rocks, they just seem to be sponges to some things. People seem to be sponges towards one thing, but a rock towards another. Whenever it comes to religion, no one ever wants to listen. It's because they think it's a book of rules, which is already a problem, because that's not what religion is. It shows that they have a pre-recognition that's just dead wrong. That's not what religion is. That's what people have taught religion to be. That's what people make it up to be. The same way that people make it up to that everyone in the LGBTQ is super gay, is super lesbian, and they have no chill. Not everyone in the LGBTQ is like that. I don't believe that at all. Not everyone who's trans is like that. They have their own lives and personalities. Now, some of them are extremist, right? And which is what you often most see. Social media pumps it up to where you only see the extremist people. Because who wants to see a casual conversation between two people? That's not interesting. People want discord. People want strife. People want trouble. People want drama, right? And the only way to get drama is to find extreme cases of stuff. So if you find an extreme case of two liberals and conservatives fighting, of course people want to watch that. That's exciting. It causes trouble. It causes drama, right? No one wants to see an interaction between a Christian and a homosexual person that is normal. There are a few people who will be like, oh, that's so cool. It's so cool that they can live in peace and harmony and sing Kumbaya and not going to beat each other up because they think differently. But understand, the world is just, it's different in a way, right? And for those of you who are Christian, or for those of you who aren't Christian, who are agnostic, you should be able to start seeing that. And if you're not, well, I don't know. Maybe you'll stay that way, maybe you won't. This video was kind of just somewhat of a rant, but more of a heads up, I would say. But yeah, thank you if you did watch this all the way through. So yeah, that's my rant for the night. Good night, guys, and God bless.